Boker Tov and good morning. I'm Rabbi Stephen Moskowitz, and this is Monday Musings, a spiritual kickstart to the week, at least we hope. And so I welcome everyone from my congregation Lador Vador, and to everyone else who's watching us on Facebook. I am joined this morning by Rabbi Susie Moskowitz, the senior rabbi of Temple Beth Torah in Melville. Susie has been at Temple Beth Torah for 24 years. They may say, how did we meet and how did I decide to invite Rabbi Susie Moskowitz on this program this morning? Well, Susie and I met and became colleagues many years ago. We met in our first year in Jerusalem, our first year in rabbinical school at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion. And I actually went to rabbinical school to meet a beautiful and intelligent woman. So I'm so thankful for that gift that the rabbinical school gave me, and that Susie decided to indeed marry me. So we have been together since we are 22 years old. Yes, you wanted to add something, Susie?
I think you hope to meet an as beautiful, intelligent Israeli woman. American one.
No, I didn't. Okay, secrets revealed. Anyway, so we have been together since we're 22 years old. We've been married for almost 32 years, and we've been colleagues for 29 years, having been ordained in 1991. So one of the things people always ask us, we're obviously both rabbis and we share a career. People think it's so unique and different. How do you balance two synagogues and two congregations? But we think this is normal and we would have it no other way, because this is what we have always done. So I wanted to invite Susie to this program this Monday Musings, in large part because she is a yoga instructor. She is a 500-hour registered yoga teacher. So I wanted to ask Susie about this spiritual practice of hers, how you got into yoga, and why you got into it.
Well, good morning, and it's great to be here, and nice to be here with you. I like this little, I'm looking at the screens, Rabbi Moskowitz, Rabbi Moskowitz. I said I think I'm the first guest to invite myself to be on the program or to suggest it on the list. But
Something that, of course, would not say no to.
Smart, honey. It's very smart. So I actually got into yoga totally for physical health reasons. I was suffering from a systemic arthritis, and something drew me to it. Interestingly, and I don't even know if you know this, when I was in college, I almost took a yoga class, and I said, yoga is going to be something really special for me, and I'm not ready for it yet, which I don't usually have those kind of experiences. And I just didn't take the class. And then we went to Club Med on a family vacation. So shout out Carl and Marcia, your parents, my in-laws. And
I'm sure they're watching.
I hope so. Somebody should be watching. So it was really interesting. There was a man there around 80. He might have even been a little bit older. He was the yoga instructor. And he'd been in an airplane crash and broken his back. And I was blown away by his recovery and doing this. And then it took a little while, and then I found a studio here, started with hot yoga, and then ended up at Balance and then Yoga Foundation. So it's been a really interesting journey. But it was, in the beginning, it was totally like aerobics or weightlifting, which I didn't do then, but I do now. It was a physical exercise, and I realized there was a spiritual part, but I was actually a little scared of the spiritual part because I have a spiritual tradition. Not only do I have a spiritual tradition, Judaism, that I believe in, but I have a spiritual tradition that my livelihood is connected to. So if I was going off and doing this Hindu practice, was I being untrue to my Judaism? And there are a few things I don't do. At the end of one of the invocations for Patanjali, at the end, I just don't chant the last few words that say I bow down to the principles of Patanjali. I just don't do that part. But more often, what was interesting was the similarities. And it got even more so when I went for my teacher training with Danielle Tarantola, who's a fabulous teacher. where we studied the Yoga Sutras. Everything from the way they're written, that they're short, pithy one liners that you can remember. There was an oral tradition that you have to have a guru or an akara, a teacher for. And I'm sitting in class and she's explaining the Yoga Sutras. And I'm like, that's just like Torah. You don't study Torah alone. You study Torah in Chavruta with a partner. You study Torah with the teacher. The maxims are sometimes short and pithy. It was definitely an oral tradition, and they're probably both about the same age.
So I mean, how has it helped to make you more spiritual, do you feel? I mean, is it, and so in what ways? Can you articulate like some specifics?
Probably the combination of my yoga practice and becoming a spiritual director, which is learning how to invoke God in counseling. Doing it's a form of counseling, and the question is, where was God in your life? Not how were your parents, or what was your childhood like, or how do you feel about it? It's how could God help you, and where's God? So those two experiences, I did that about 10 years ago, and I started yoga about 20 years ago, have really shaped and changed my spirituality. And that I did it in a Jewish setting, spiritual direction, but it comes from a Catholic tradition of the dark night of the soul, and it's very common for Catholics to have a spiritual director to help you on this journey, like a coach. Coach.
And so you no longer feel that there's any, it's at all inauthentic, in terms of, being a rabbi and your Jewish traditions and leaning on them, and then doing yoga. You see them as blending together, not two disparate parts.
Very much. My favorite thing to do each week is to teach. Well, besides being on your show, my favorite thing to do, which I do weekly, is do a Torah yoga
show. That first of all.
But on Friday mornings at 10:30, I do a Torah yoga class, and it's I usually pull in something from the Torah portion of the week, from the Parsha, and there's always something that connects with yoga tradition or yogic teachings, or the physical practice can come together. One of my favorite, I have two things along the way that I think just were aha moments. One was when we were learning about the unity and the oneness of the universe. And I'd always thought that was a foreign concept, a Hindu concept, a Buddhist concept, not Jewish. And all of a sudden I went, every time we pray, we say the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. God is one. And we know from studying like even Jewish tradition, Jewish interpretations of that one could be unity, one could be a singularity, one could be the coming together of all forces in that one. That concept's right there in Judaism. It just has a little different slant. And my other favorite aha moment was the prayer Imre Fi that we often sing after the silent prayer. I mean, a lot of times we sing Shalom, Oseh Shalom, but may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God. And I grew up singing that prayer in English, actually, in Baltimore.
Right, I did too.
Beautiful setting, right? I never thought about the fact that this word meditation is right there. It's just the Judaism I was practicing had de-emphasized meditation, almost buried it.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation in terms of, that we really, have those parts of Jewish practice have certainly been, pushed aside. I mean, they've been recovered, I think, of late. I think you're part of, a larger movement in terms of doing this and bringing these spiritual practices into our Jewish lives. We should also say that, like, it helps you physically in terms of, what the initial intention, that really was a tremendous cure in terms of that. So I think that's wonderful. For me,
Life-saving.
What's
it was life-saving.
Yeah. Well, in addition to being married to me, but okay. So I took a yoga class. I think I told you this once in college, and it was like a seminar, and to sit still for 3 hours was the most painful experience of my life, I think, because I can't possibly sit still for that long, let alone, I mean, 3 hours. I can't even do it for 5 minutes barely.
But I was very proud of you when we went to Hawaii. We had a family vacation, and it was the four of us. Obviously, we were all living in different places, not all in one house like we are right this minute.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
And so one of the goals was that we did everything together. So if somebody wanted to go on a hike, we were all going to go on a hike, right, or whatever. And we were able to go to a yoga class with our friend Jaya's sister, who's a yoga teacher in
That's right.
Hawaii. So all four of us did it, and you you were great until Shavasana in the middle of the class, and you fell asleep. And I don't think you woke back up, but you were very good.
But I was relaxed, wasn't I? I was relaxed. So that's great. So I mean, tell us more. Can you do some yoga? I mean, like, can you just teach us some yoga practices that we could bring into our lives? That would be sort of an easy takeaway.
You didn't warn me about this
I'm
one.
sorry. I've just sort of like, the wheels are turning.
Sure. Um, Everything is connected to the movement and the breath. So if you just sit in your seat and you listen to your own breathing and you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. So it's inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, and just feel yourself settling into your body. And let's take the Shema. And if you have a simple movement like inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. Inhale, raise the arms.
Oh, sorry.
Exhale, lower the arms. Inhale, keep breathing, raising the arms and connecting. And on the way down, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And can you connect the breath and the movement? So it's inhale all the way up. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And one more time. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And it helps connect that sense of breath being a gift from God, that we were created. God breathed into Nishima, into earth. And the thing that motivates us is Nishoma. It motivates our Neshama, our soul, is Nishima, is breath. And I think that's like a wonderful teaching that connects. I like that one a lot. Another one of my favorites is in the beginning of the Torah. It says, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim the et haaretz. So the letter Vav in cursive, especially, is just a straight line. So if you stand very straight and bring your arms up and your feet are grounded in the earth, can't really see my arms up there. You're pulling down the heavenly, the Shemayim energy, and you're pulling up the Aretz, the earth energy. And you are the Vav. And I didn't make this up. Somebody taught me this, and I wish I knew who. So we're the conduit that connects heaven and earth. And that's such a Jewish view, that our job is to bring God down to earth, to bring God's presence out in the earth, and to be the one that connects holiness to the world, an Or Lagoyim, a light to the nations, um, a conduit for holiness.
Yeah, I think, that encouraging people to find spiritual practices that might not be like the traditional, okay, you got to go this prayer for, you open the prayer book to page 10. Okay, this is where we are. Like, the only way to do spiritual practices is page 10, then page 12, then page 14, then page 20. I'm just rattling off pages in terms of the Siddur and the prayer book. I think that's many people's impression of that's what Jewish spirituality has to be. It's this scripted, exercise. We open the prayer book and we start here and we move through here until, we sing Adon Olam at the end. And I think part of what we would both agree on, and encourage people, is to find other spiritual practices to make their Judaism meaningful. I love the connection between the neshama, the soul, and the breath, and adding that breathing exercise and then connecting it to the Shema. I think being centered and being connected to the world, and bringing and being at peace with that is very important. Jewish, kavanah, Jewish intention.
Hmm.
I do think, part of what you've reflected to me, if I can just share, is that, so, you went outside to yoga in a sense that brought you deeper inside and deeper into our tradition, which I think is a very interesting and instructive, lesson for us all. Like sometimes we have to let go of the Siddur, the prayer book, in order to reclaim it and to find again the meaning in the tradition. That we, even if it means just, for me especially, like going just out for a walk in nature, gives me that sense. And there's many ways of reclaiming the tradition and our Judaism. And we paint. I think people take away this impression and this idea that the only way to do is, okay, just go deeper into the book. I mean, that sort of seems to be the Jewish MO. Like just dive deeper into the book. Go to another page. Sorry, you want to say something?
The camp movement and the songs that they borrowed from folk songs in the 60s and 70s, and now they're borrowing from hip hop or from rock song. Well, rock is older and newer, and contemporary pop songs, and putting Jewish lyrics to it. We've been blessed the last few Saturday nights, or maybe last since April, of doing a concert every Saturday night with a different Jewish musician between our congregations. And last night joining with our friend Dan Nichols when he was doing it for the URJ, the campfire concerts, and hearing, well, I had this idea and I put it to music, and he put it to music that was influenced by contemporary American music.
Right.
And that's been a way back into Judaism for so many people.
Well, I think we both would agree that music is just, as an entree in a way to reclaim the tradition. And actually, Judaism has been doing that all the time. I mean, it's not like all of these tunes that people say, oh, that you can only sing Adon Olam this traditional way. I mean, that was borrowed from outside culture as well. It's not like there's necessarily, indigenous Jewish tunes. We've been singing it that way for a longer time.
But I
So there's
think
always been that cross-cultural influence.
you and I grew up as classical Reform Jews, with a very heavily influenced by the German Reform, by the Jews that wanted to be more like the Protestants, and they just had a different kind of spirituality. We were even learning about that a couple weeks ago when our friend Pastor Nathan was on. And instead of that adapting and changing as much, we stayed in that period, and then Judaism felt less connected to the outside world we were living, especially as Reform Jews that really are functioning in the outside world and the Jewish world, and we had to keep making it relevant. So to do that, we didn't just go to the new, we went back to the Hasidim and the dancing and the singing. You talked about walking in nature, and Nachman of Bratslav talks about hipodadut, right? Being alone in nature and hearing the trees
Right.
and the plants.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to conclude. I'm sitting outside here in nature on our beautiful deck. I want to thank Rabbi Susie Moskowitz for joining us on this day and adding her insights. Oh, and I believe she's coming out to my studio to say a hello, and there she is. So thank you, Susie, for joining me and for coming to Monday Musings. We'll see you next Monday at 9 a.m. Boker Tov.
להתראות.